the Sweet 11 Jumpin Offsides podcast presented by Louisiana Downs, where the excitement is always at the finish line. We just wrapped up week 6, moving into week 7, and before we talk about everything from the past and the future coming up, we want to wish all our thoughts and prayers go out to Central Florida and Hurricane Milton. People who are displaced, our prayers are out to that. You know, our co-host Mike Pearson caught up right in the middle of that in Tampa, JD. He was dealing with all of it, rode out the first and second halves of that storm, and got pretty hairy.
Yeah, it looked like it was pretty bad down there. Tampa took a direct hit, Sarasota area. Constant contact with Mike last night and this morning, and they're out of electricity, of course, and trying to help people that really need it. So our thoughts and prayers are to him and his family and the rest of the people there in Central Florida.
T's and P's up to Gatorland. That's a big spot of the Gators down there. But Mike, we're praying for you guys, and any help you guys need, let us know. We're here for you. As we move backwards, week 6, what a hell of a week.
Crazy week. Upset City.
Dickie V
game
would have a time with this one.
Yes, sir.
Upset City. Let's start with the number one upset of the number one team in the nation, Alabama and Vanderbilt.
Man, what a game. Vanderbilt never let their foot off the gas. You look at it, and I watched that game, especially in the second half, and I saw a stat, scrolling through Twitter during the game, that Vanderbilt only scored 13 points on Alabama in the whole Nick Saban era. From 2007 to 2023, scored 13 points, and they had 23 at halftime, on Alabama in this game. Not a good start for the coach, I'll say that. Kalen DeBoer, the Paul Feinbaum show on Monday was absolutely electric.
Roast City. Jim in Tuscaloosa, legend from Alabama, from T-Town. They let him have it. You can't help but get it. They came from the Saban area. People like you and I, who are not Alabama fans, have been sitting here clamoring for this moment. The fact that, hey, they're going to come back down to earth. They're a 3 or 4 loss team every year without Nick Saban. That's the way this is going to go. And they lost 1 to Vanderbilt. And, look, I say it every year. Vanderbilt starts 3-0. Vandy's going Vandy after that. Well, they didn't Vandy this time. And it was an evenly matched game. I was watching it from Huntsville, Alabama, and I was watching a whole bunch of Alabama fans. I think I sent you some pictures. Teared up at the bar, hugging on each other.
Oh, lots of consoling.
Oh, do it, love.
Yeah.
They were shaking it out. Just a lot of scared. Vanderbilt, Nashville. And look, I'm going to say this. The biggest shocker of the night to me was those smart-ass kids pulling that goalpost from down there on the field down Broadway and throwing it in the river down there. That was the biggest shock to me, that they knew how to work on it.
Oh, yeah. They knew how to take it down. Went right by Dirk Bentley's bar.
Oh, yeah. Ragweed's rocking on the radio.
Oh, yeah. But, Chance, I've been saying this for a few years now. I've got a lot of friends that are Bama fans, friends of mine from years past that live over there that I worked with and around. But since January 3rd, 2007, I knew this day would come, and they didn't want to believe it. They're still hung up on it. Who knew Nick Saban was going to win 6 national titles in 12 years? I sure didn't. I know. I knew what he did at LSU,
right?
And whenever he went to Alabama from Miami, I'm not gonna lie, I was mad about it because I knew what he was going to build. What he built at LSU. For me and you going to games in Baton Rouge in the 90s, you were a Florida fan. We'd go to those games. LSU was terrible, terrible. He completely changed the culture down there. I knew what he was going to do at Bama, but I also he did, and I also knew what was going to happen there. And then one day he's going to retire, and the whole NIL era completely sent him home. He's It's not what it used to be. He
Right.
didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
But the Bama fans don't understand. They're so used to winning, and all of a sudden you look up and there's Vandy. And, you know, they got a big win against Georgia last week. And I'll tell you another thing nobody's talking about. Think about this. And I'll bring this up because I heard it on Matt Moscona's podcast this week.
Yeah.
And it triggered some memory.
No free ads.
No free ads. Because I was at the game. It was right after Hurricane. We were in Baton Rouge. LSU was up 21-0 on Tennessee, and Tennessee came back and won the game in the second half.
Right.
I knew at that point, golly, like this would have never happened if Nick Saban was the coach.
Right.
Last week, when Alabama had a 28-0 lead on Georgia, if the freshman hadn't made the unbelievable catch and scored to end the game,
That's right.
Kalen DeBoer would never live it down, give it up.
No,
you know,
that's right.
Having a
It was a hangover.
28-0 lead on Georgia and losing,
Yeah.
it would have haunted him to the last day he was a coach at Alabama.
That's right. And then a hangover game in Nashville.
Yeah.
I mean, more or less. But you're right. But, you know, if Aunt Betty had a dick, she'd be Uncle Betty. So they didn't get the win. And you know, I mean, we've said it a million times. But you are right with that. I mean, and I think it had a lot of these diehards questioning DeBeer and what happened in that game, but they still like, well, we're still Alabama. We still won because we are good. You know,
We're Bama.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Don't give a damn about nothing but the tire.
Well, to quote Harvey Updike, I just got too much Bama in me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
So, yeah, to move on from Bama, I don't want to harp on it and continue.
No.
I mean, everybody's talking. I saw Feinbaum this week said this is the biggest loss in Alabama history. It's the biggest upset in NCAA history. I'm not buying
no,
that.
it's not. Let's don't make them out.
Yeah.
If Nick Saban was there and they were number one, awesome.
Bottom line, Vanderbilt's still an SEC school.
Yeah.
You know, we're not talking about
General
Division
Rudy
II school.
ULM.
Yeah,
Or an Appalachian
FCS
State.
school
Yeah.
beating an FBS school. App State and Michigan, that's different.
That's right.
Completely different. But next game, we're going to go to Fayetteville, Arkansas. Let's talk about that.
I called that game, if I remember correctly, because of Petrino. Strictly because of Petrino. But what I'm more impressed with, it was 3-0 at the half.
Yeah.
Or yeah, was it
7-3.
No.
Was it 3-0?
3-0 because it's the first time Heupel has been shut out.
Okay.
In a half, yeah. And I remember watching that and going, wow.
Yeah.
But that's one of those games. It's a roadblock. Arkansas was able to put it together. I love Petrino controlled the game. You know, our good friend Art Carmody, friend of the show, B1 Bank, no free ads. He says all the time, about Petrino. He played for Bobby and those big-time BCS teams that he had. And he said he used to watch Bobby on the treadmill. And he was watching games from the year before and years before that. And he did that so he could stay in rhythm.
You sure it wasn't on his motorcycle?
Now, at that time, this was Louisville, not Arkansas, the first time. But no, he stayed in that rhythm. And I always feel this way with him, with Sam Pittman, and having something to work with. And he's got some youngsters he's going to groom up. I mean, I've been around Art enough to listen to the Bobby Petrino stories. And this cat can flat out call an offense.
Yeah.
And whether it's doing that where he's going to milk the clock,
Yeah.
just keep the clock rolling, but make plays that are going to keep us sustained in drives. And that's what happened. I mean, to hold Heupel under to no points in the first half was huge. I mean, that doesn't happen.
And another thing that's being overlooked too, there was a lot of hype around Tennessee's QB. I mean, he put up some gaudy numbers in the first few games, but like we talked about, he's still a freshman on the road in the SEC.
Yeah.
Experience matters in this league.
Some more coffee.
It just does. So, you know, Arkansas with the upset. Tennessee's got a big game this week. We'll
Yep.
talk about that in a
Yep.
little while.
Yep.
The next game that we'll go to, Texas A&M and Missouri. Number
I didn't
9
have that on
Missouri.
my bingo
I didn't
card.
either.
I
I
did
picked
not.
Missouri to win. I know.
Yeah.
And cover.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks. But you know, I hate to say this, but at this point in the season, A&M looks for real. And that
That's
that
quality
Florida
loss for Florida.
Florida lost to Arkansas doesn't look quite as bad now because
J&M you talking
I mean to A&M. I mean they manhandled Missouri.
just like they did us, and that's I always say this about Missouri. They're a paper tiger. I don't care what they did last year. They beat an Ohio State team that played a fullback and quarterback. I never was a Drinkwitz guy. And we were a 4th and 20 away from getting out of that game and beating them and ruining their season.
Yeah.
So I still don't think Missouri's the real deal. I think A&M's a 3-loss team at minimum. I think they'll roll off and lose some that they shouldn't lose. They'll be a 3-loss team no matter what. Missouri is what I thought they were. They can't play they're not ready.
Well, I can say that watching Mizzou play Boston College and then the way they played against Vandy, you know, Vandy should have won that game in Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
had the ball on the first and goal to
shot.
take the lead at the end of regulation and ended up having to kick a field goal, went backwards on 3 plays, but they very easily could have won that game. Missouri they're not as good as we thought they were going to be. Their defense is not as good. They lost their DC to LSU, and the QB has not been what was advertised. I don't know if he's just regressed a little bit, but I mean, he's just not there.
Question for you.
Okay.
Is Missouri maybe not what we thought they were, or is Vandy more than what we thought they were? Because like I said, the 2 and 3 and 0, Vandy's going Vandy. Not worried about them, but are they a little bit more to them? Are they a little better up front than we think? You have to be to maintain Alabama, but then the quarterback, and I like the way they run, kind of a pistol look with a little offset back and another back in the pistol grip. And they run a veer basically, and it's assignment football. Yeah. How many times have we seen assignment football? The veer, especially, just manhandle folks. You're trapping, you find that, and then guess what? We lull you to sleep, and we're coming over the top. Like the big play that they had, the 35, 40-yard shot to the end zone. You lull them into thinking, well, here comes Pavilla right at us, and then bam, over the top we go.
So I think it's a little of both. I think that, you know, Vandy's better than we thought, and Missouri's not as good as we thought. But let's talk a little bit, too, though. That Vandy offense, former Florida Gator, coaching it.
Yeah, that's right.
So I saw this week where Spurrier talked about it. You know, he said, you know, that Vandy, you know, whoever that offensive coordinator is, he's going to have a head job before long. Huh, I didn't even realize he was a former Gator.
Right.
So, you know. You never know. I mean,
as he would say, and so forth and so on.
Yeah. So we'll go to next game, Auburn and Georgia, between the hedges. You know, I thought that Georgia, they let Auburn stay in the game, and I'll say this: if Auburn had a quarterback, they win that game because they could move the ball. They had people running wide open, and they couldn't get to them.
It cost Auburn earlier in the year if they had a quarterback. I mean. It goes back to like it was for me in the Driscoll days. You can't find a quarterback anywhere on the campus. I mean, somebody could get under center and play better quarterback. You know what I mean?
Auburn played a wide receiver at quarterback and made it to the national championship game. So,
exactly.
You know.
Yeah. Well, they still hadn't found a quarterback.
Yeah. So, you know, going back and, you know, more SEC games, we're going to go next one. You know, we'll talk about your Gators a little bit. The 24-13 win over UCF. I know me and you talked about it a little offline. We talked about it with Mike too. I don't know. UCF is not as good as everybody thought they were.
And we're still not a very good football.
No.
Improvement, yes.
The defense looked a lot better.
Yep.
I'll say that about them.
Well, But when you got a left guard playing quarterback for the other team, they ought to look good against him. I mean, that kid's
big.
been...
He's 260 easy.
Yeah.
He's an easy 260.
Yeah,
It seems like he's
too
getting
big.
worse as he's getting older.
Yeah.
But,
He's one of those that missed his time.
yeah.
He should have capitalized in Arkansas and rolled out.
So let me answer this question too, though. After watching A&M dismantle Missouri, watching Miami go to Cal, which we'll talk about, and be down 35-10, come back and win 39-38, they showed a lot of resiliency to come back. You've got two teams there now that Florida lost to that look pretty damn solid.
Yeah.
Does it make you feel any better
No.
about the team, about Napier, about what's going on?
Now, let me tell you why. JD. You don't, to go into the nature boy here, you don't get the AP watches, you don't get the diamond rings of Mack trucks by being able to pick a loser. So I'm telling you right now, I've seen this Florida team, and you know this. We've been there firsthand. We love Bill Napier. What a guy. But he sold us a bad bill of goods. We are not that good. And I bought it. I fell into it. I still don't think the only way they get out of Knoxville alive in Neyland Stadium, because God, I've been there, and it's going to be tough to play. But you have Mertz, that helps. You've got experience, and then you got Lagway, who may not feel anything in there, and that's what you hope for. Just be calm, cool. You got nothing to lose, go with it. But defensively, if you can keep Tennessee, if you can keep them in 3rd and long, so 3rd and 6 or more, if you can keep them, you've got a shot. But if they're able to go tempo, and they have 3rd and 4, 3rd and medium, and 3rd and short, you can write a book about us. We're history. It's done. Like, I have no faith in them. And the line is, what, 14.5?
Yeah.
So...
I actually think it's moved.
We'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later, but I think the key to Florida is going to be, can they get any pressure up front on defense? Because
yeah, absolutely. But that's always the case.
That's the case, but you know as well as I do, with the up-tempo, you're not going to be able to rotate as many guys. You just don't have time.
But that's a good thing.
If they sub, you sub,
Yeah.
but that you have to get time. But Tennessee's not going to sub. They're going to, like Nick Saban said, they play sideline to sideline,
that's
all
right.
52
Spread
yards of the
you out.
field.
Yep.
So what we have to, remember, Florida's played 2 up-tempo teams in a row.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it was
Weaker than Branchwater.
Yeah, Mississippi State, and also UCF. Now, they're up-tempo. Will that help them against Tennessee? The freshman QB Tennessee's got at home. But the key to the game to me is, can Florida get pressure with 4?
That's right.
And I don't know if they can.
Last year at home, if you remember watching that game, we got pressure up front last year. But that's a whole other story. But I have zero faith in our line. But I'm going to tell you what the most important thing our good friend and friend of the show, Shane Matthews, has said. Even got to line up right.
Exactly.
How many times do we see at the snap of the ball, you've got a DB going, get over here, and then they snap, boom, they're right by you. They're running 9 routes right past you. Well, we can't have that, and then you're going to be totally exposed and out of place. We have to line up correctly, and then Sapp and Jackson, our good friend from Claiborne Parish, Cam Jackson, has to get pressure from the middle.
Yeah.
And Tyreek Sapp can come off the edges, and we can Pup Howard. We can make a difference, but then you can't get fooled, because here's the other thing about Tennessee. They can run the football.
Yeah.
And they do. Heupel does a good job of just keeping everything even. And in Arkansas, I like Napier and Austin Armstrong and Ron Roberts need to be looking at that film, dissecting what they did on defense. Our offense will take care of itself. We do have enough weapons out there in Tank Hawkins, Aiden Mizell, DK, Badger. Plus,
Is Trey Wilson playing this week? Is he out?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I would say he's going to be out.
You've got a lot of young, talented
Hanson
receivers.
and Arliss Boardingham at tight end. Let's open it up a little bit. And just we went empty several times the other day. We never went 5 wide, but we went empty. I'm not a real fan of that. Like, keep us another guy in to protect, if nothing else. Jaden Baugh, he's another running back that gets going. Montrell Johnson. You get those two guys going, then Tennessee's going, all right, key the run. Here, we beat them over the top again. So it's a lot that can happen, but that leads us back into that. But those 2 games from last week,
Yeah, you heard a little bit, too, after the game. I listened to some of the player interviews, and they talked about during the bye week how they spent it
competitive,
very competitive. They
split the teams
up.
up.
The teams up. The ones played with the backups. The third string played with the first string. They did all that, and then they said what helped them though was to get lined up right. They actually felt like they were lined up right against UCF, and in the first half, I felt like, wow, man, this is the Florida team that they've been wanting. Right. But then in the second half, they kind of let their foot off the gas. But they only had 1 possession in the third quarter, so it's not like they didn't have a lot of time.
But
UCF used a lot of clock.
So you get behind the sticks with a procedure penalty, some dumb penalty like that. You can't get behind the sticks, and especially on the road. You got to stay in front the whole game, and that's what it's going to come down to for Billy.
Yeah.
As far as offense goes, defensively, we can't have any dumb penalties. I'm so sick of seeing just errant penalties. We learned that in Pop War.
Yeah. Well, let's go. Another big SEC game last week. The Ole Miss Landshark Rebel Bears traveled to South Carolina. They beat the Gamecocks 27-3. There was a lot of self-inflicted mishaps by South Carolina in the game. Let's call it what it is. Granted, Ole Miss got a lot of pressure. Their front 7 got a lot of pressure. I will say this. Their third down offense is not good right now. And they got to go to Baton Rouge. They were 1 for 10 against Kentucky on third down at home.
Right.
And 3 for 13 against South Carolina on third down. That's not very good. And you're going now into one of the most hostile environments to my Tigers in Baton Rouge and Death Valley.
Night game. Oh.
100th anniversary of Tiger Stadium Saturday night.
That means shit, but
yeah. Okay. We'll see. I think it's going to be a good game, but I'm not buying Ole Miss being favored by 3.5. I'm sorry.
We'll talk about that.
We'll get there. But
don't jump ahead, JD. Don't jump ahead.
But let's talk about this Ole Miss South Carolina game. They had the ball on their side of the field. Ole Miss did.
Yeah.
2 or 3 times in that game. They only had 1 sustained drive, really. And then they fumbled the ball out of the back of the end zone, of course, which would have been another touchdown. But, most of the drives were set up on their side of the 50. And then, they resulted in field goals.
There is a lot of predictability, I think, there. And like anything else, it comes down to execution. And I don't think Ole Miss is executing on offense the way they should. Their defense is not too bad. I think they have to figure out how to execute. And for whatever reason, Ole Miss always plays LSU pretty tight.
Usually.
It feels like. So we'll see what happens.
But this is their 7th straight week this week they'll be playing.
That's right.
They played 7. This is a second straight road game.
Yep.
Now, it is a rivalry. Now, my parents, it was the biggest rivalry. We in my generation don't look at it that way because LSU's pretty much owned Ole Miss over the last 25 years, winning 18 out of those. So it's not been as big as it was in the 60s and 70s, and we'll see. So a couple of games off of our radar here that we're going to talk about. One is Michigan went to Washington and looked terrible. Now, Washington's got a great home field advantage. They win the game 27-17. Michigan definitely has a quarterback problem, bad.
Yeah.
But they're not a good football team. That, to me, that Texas win, It doesn't look quite as good now because I
Right.
don't think Michigan's that good.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think they lose another 2 to 3 games this year.
And what
At
do
least.
I say all the time? Annie Arbor's still a whore.
Still.
And you never bet on a whore, and I got caught up in it. I bet on her last week at Ann Arbor, and
I did too.
Yeah, and
No,
I
and
should
knew
listen
better.
to my buddy Spike Caruso,
Knew better.
Jared Caruso, no shout out, but he's a UW guy, played receiver. He's been telling me, you know, hey, maybe they made Ann Arbor look bad. I don't know. But Michigan did not look very good. I just don't trust them. They're one of those teams I don't trust at all.
I don't either. I think that, last year they bullied a lot of people.
They could.
And they
had
could.
a good team.
They had a
They
great
were
team,
solid.
good coach. They were solid. They got everybody's signals. I mean, it was.
Yeah, that's exactly.
They played their game. Yeah.
As simple as that.
Minnesota beat USC 24-17 to give USC their second loss in the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that coming. The way they looked in the first game of the
Yeah.
year.
I had written Billy Ray Cardigan off up there in Minnesota.
PJ Fleck.
Yeah, Billy Ray Cardigan. He got the little cardigan on every week.
It looks like to me he wants to beat Jim Tressel so bad he can't
Well, he
stand
does. Billy Ray Tressel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he pulled a rabbit out of the hat with that, and kudos to him. They'll hype him up. USC is not, as the year progresses, you're going to see they're not as advertised.
Well, I think it's more on the coach. Me.
Might
I've
be.
never been
Might
sold
be.
on Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
He most of the time doesn't show up in big games. Every time he's been in one, he's lost except for the season opener.
2 to 3 games a year. That's the coach he is to me. But now it benefits him. It's a playoff. You're going to get in with 2 losses, 3 losses maybe.
I don't know. 3's going to be close.
They might
I don't,
pass him up, but yeah, I agree with you.
Nebraska, Rutgers. Rutgers was favored. Nebraska wins that game 14-7.
Yeah.
I think Nebraska's got a coach.
I like what they're doing. I like Shiano at Rutgers.
I do too, but man, if Nebraska gets this thing going and they can recruit,
If the recruit,
Matt Rule is a
Yeah.
great coach.
Great
I mean,
coach.
he did
and
things
he
at
likes
Baylor
it there.
that nobody did.
Mhm.
I mean, even Art Briles didn't do at Baylor what Matt Rule did.
Yeah.
And look at poor Dave Aranda. He inherited a lot of transfers,
Yeah.
and they can't beat anybody right
No.
now. They're terrible. Let's go to Clemson, 29. Your Tallahassee Junior College Seminoles, Florida State, 13. They actually showed a little bit of pulse on offense with Brock Glenn in the game.
Yep. Much better quarterback.
Way better.
DJ.
is.
Yeah.
I think that he's
They-
done.
Yeah,
he's done.
He is.
He's hurt.
Mhm.
He's not going to play anymore.
Yep.
I-
They're probably giving him a case of the claps down there at Florida State.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
So-
We'll see you.
But they still have
They got beat. They're
anybody
bad.
eat the red solo cup of dog shit.
The curse is
Do
still
they
on
win
there.
until somebody does?
Well, they have won once.
Not
Give
since.
them that, but
Not since.
are you sure?
Yeah. Who'd they beat?
No. Georgia Tech beat them, then Boston College was the next week
Yes.
where the guy said, and I quote, "I'll eat a scoop of dog shit in a red solo cup if they give it, book it." And they won the game before last. They
Okay.
did win. But it doesn't matter. They beat somebody they should have beat. Now they're just it's like all right, we're throwing it up there in the air and let's see if we get it. you
Did
know?
they win a conference game?
No, they just beat a team that they absolutely should have beat. Yeah.
That Florida State game at the end of the year is going to be.
Oh, great American pillow fight coming at you. If Florida, we'll talk about it as we go, but Florida's going to steal one from somebody you don't expect is coming, and that's going to help Billy at least make it through the end of the year.
I think whatever team wins keeps their coach and has to hire the other team's coach as a special teams assistant. What do you think?
I'm all for that. Norvell's a Louisiana Tech guy. I don't mind Norvell. I do when he's down there, but They're garbage.
So we talked a little bit about this too. Miami and Cal.
Yeah.
Man, Cal blow that or what? 35-10 in the third quarter.
Definitely shit the bed.
I fell asleep. It was so late.
I watched it.
I fell asleep. It was 35-10. I texted you and Mike. It was like, oh man, Cal is just blowing Miami out. This looks bad. And then I wake
that's
up
what Miami is,
at
though.
1:45 in the morning and look up, and Miami's on the 20-yard line about to score to take the lead late in the fourth quarter. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. How did Cal blow this?
The insane thing about that is Miami has no competition in the ACC, so they might lose one game, but they're going to win the ACC.
Well, they will have to play Clemson.
Right.
They don't play during the regular
Right.
season.
Right.
So
Yeah, that helps them.
I think
But
that
Miami's really not, and I said it when we were down there in Gainesville watching them. We'll make anybody look like a Heisman Trophy. We're going to make Nico look like a Heisman contender after this week. We just do.
Man, I don't know. He's still a freshman. He's still a freshman in the SEC, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Freshman Johnny Manziel is the only freshman QB in the SEC other than Tebow in the last 20, 30 years that I can remember that actually just came in and lit it up.
Well, Tebow didn't do it as a freshman.
Well, he didn't, but he had a lot of big, like when he was a freshman, they go to Tennessee.
Yeah.
He had some runs that won him the game.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah. Revisionist history. Week 7.
Week 7 is going to be big. We've got some big games on the slate this
Huge.
week.
Yeah.
Florida at Tennessee. We've got Ole Miss at LSU.
Ohio State at Oregon.
Ohio State at Oregon. Big team game for Oregon.
Yep.
That's going to be a big one. We've got the Red River rivalry, Red River shootout.
Yeah.
Texas OU.
Yeah.
We got
Do it, love.
Melody over here throwing the hook 'em horn sign at us.
Yes, sir.
A game that's on our sheet here that we picked, Vanderbilt, Kentucky. That, the first of the year, nobody would have thought that we would be watching that, but I kind of want to tune into it.
I do.
I kind
Is
of
that
want to
going to be
see
the Jefferson Pilot Sports game of the
Game
week?
of the week, 11 a.m.
Yeah.
Jefferson Pilot Sports.
JP Sports.
So let's go through these line by line. I wish, I know Mike doesn't have electricity, and hopefully, he can pick his games. And we send it to him, and
very primitive, Jim.
we send it to him. Maybe he can pick it, Mike. So if you're listening to us, go ahead and pick your games, and we'll write them down. And next week we'll discuss them.
And we'll tell you how you lost.
So, yeah. So let's go. Last week, this was our picks. Last week, Chance was 12-6, win-loss. Mike was 11-7, and I was 11-7. So decent week for everybody.
Yes. Get this right quick. There you go. I handed it to the ref because I win. I've been in the end zone before. I don't need to spike it. I just hand it to the referee because I don't need to spike the ball, even though I kicked their ass last week.
Good job.
Yeah. Thank you, Jimmy.
All right, so first game, let's go to Utah, number 16 Utah, traveling to Tempe to play Arizona State. They're favored by 3, over and under 44.5.
Yeah, I saw which way you went.
Yep.
On this, and I went the opposite. Utah under, and you went Arizona State, ASU over. So we'll see how that pans out. I just like Utah. We've talked about it for the weeks prior. Like I like Kyle Whittingham. I like that team. They're just one of those just smooth operators.
Yeah.
They're like me on a track code, just a smooth operator.
Arizona State 4-0 or 5-0.
It doesn't.
I think
matter.
they're 4-1, 5-0.
Yeah,
something. They're close.
Don't worry, they're going to be.
Okay, we'll
And
see.
they're going under. It's going to be a defensive battle.
Big 12 game.
Yeah. Defensive
Conference.
battle. Yeah.
Next game, Georgia Tech at North Carolina. Georgia Tech's favored by 4, over and under is 59.5.
Yeah, you rolled up Georgia Tech and UNC in the under. You like North Carolina to cover the 4 points there.
I do. I think it's going to be a field goal game. I think Georgia Tech is up and down.
They are.
I wouldn't be surprised if North Carolina won the game, but they've been struggling. You know, Mac Brown's team is been struggling.
Yeah,
But-
they're not very good.
I'm
Or
thinking
they're
a
not playing good when they
3-point
should.
game.
Yeah, that's fine. I went Tech in the over. You went Tech UNC in the under. So we'll move to the next one now.
Number 10, Clemson at Wake Forest. Clemson is a 20.5 point favorite.
They should be.
Over and under 61.5.
Yeah, they should be, in my opinion, because Wake Forest got beat by UL Lafayette, or Louisiana University. Got beat by them. I have no faith in Wake Forest. I don't care what the game is. Clemson, and I'm taking the over. You know, 61.5 is a pile of points. But give me Clemson or give me death on that one.
My whole thing is I don't think Wake Forest scores over 10 points. And I think
You're probably right.
I'm looking at a 48-10 game.
That's
why I kind of picked the under on that.
That's probably a good pick. Here.
But let's talk about Clemson for a second. Man,
they wrote them off after the Georgia game.
They looked terrible against Georgia.
But guess what? I think they play Georgia again. I think they play them 9 more times. They get beat 9 more times in the same fashion. They don't match up well against Georgia.
Yeah.
I've sat down here on that bottom level with you, Kuykendorf, and picked Clemson time after time after time against Georgia, and they shit the bed every time. Dabo does not match up well with Kirby, and that's just the way it is.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Washington at Iowa. Iowa's favored by 3 at home.
Yeah, and after seeing Washington against Michigan gives me a lot of hope for Washington. So I went UW in the under in that game. You went UW and what?
UW in the over.
Yeah. So you took UW across the board plus the over, stomp on the gas, and I went under that they'll hit the Jake break at some point.
You know, I probably should have gone under on this game knowing what I know about Iowa and Kirk Ferentz, but
there's not a lot of points on the board there at 42.5.
That's true.
You know, we get 21, then have to get a field goal, then there's your points.
We're in an 18-15 game. It wouldn't surprise me if that was the final.
Yeah, exactly.
Move on to Louisville at Virginia. Louisville's favored 7.5. Virginia with a big win last week. You know, that was kind of surprising. They won convincingly. Louisville's just the last few weeks they haven't shown me much, and for them to be favored by 7.5,
you know what?
At Virginia,
I am a Jeff Brom guy, and I will be till the end. And I'll take him at Louisville, and the under in that game. I don't think they're going to reach 54.5, but I just like Louisville, and I'll pick Jeff Brom every time.
I took Louisville to win. I think Virginia will cover. I think 7.5 is an awful lot. 3 or 4, you know, maybe 5 points. And I'm taking the under on that one as well. So let's go to USC. USC at home against Penn State. Penn State moved up to number 4 this week. They're a 4-point favorite at USC. Over and under is 50.5. I went USC in the under. James Franklin is kind of like Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
We've got 2 coaches that both lose big games.
Yeah.
Okay. The only thing in this one is Lincoln Riley's at home. They're playing at home.
Right.
So who do you pick? You pick. It's a toss-up to me, really.
Yeah.
Because they both lose big games.
Yeah. That's why I went Penn State to win, USC to cover, and the under. Because I think somebody's going to trip each other up, and they're not going to get to the point total on the over/under. That's why I went that way. The clock's going to move.
Moving on, let's go to number 22 Pitt playing at home against Cal. They're a 3.5-point favorite. That's pretty close. I picked Pitt to win, Cal to cover in the under.
I took Pitt across the board in the under, the over. Pitt across the board in the over. I like Eli Holstein, Zachary, Louisiana kid. I like what he's been doing at Pitt. Plus Cal had their moment in the sun and could have finished Miami off. Now I think we're looking at a hangover, especially going over to Heinz Field to play. I think it's just going to be devastating for them.
Yeah.
I think Pitt gets about more than 3.5.
We're going to move on down the list a little bit, and
Yeah.
we won't talk about all of them, but the next one I want to talk about is South Carolina at number 7 Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama was number 1 last week, and
Mm-hmm.
they got rolled up by Vandy.
Dropped 6 spots.
They're a 21-point favorite at home.
Mm-hmm.
50.5 is the over and under.
Mm-hmm.
I took Alabama to win, but I took USC East
Yeah.
to cover that 21.
Yeah.
And I took the over.
I took Bama all the way in the over. I just think they're going to be pissed off, and they've been tired of listening to Jim from Tuscaloosa and Legend from Alabama just rip their ass all week on Feinbaum. I think they've got a point to prove, and I think the beer makes it solid. I think they do. USC is, I mean, I know they played LSU tough, they played Ole Miss tough. I just zero favor. I don't like Beamer. I'm not a Beamer ball guy, so screw him.
Some of the decisions he made last week, going for it on 4th down on the first drive, like.
This is going to upset some of our viewers to say, but I'm going to say it anyway, Paul. Roll damn tide. In the words of Harvey Updike, who spiked DH-80 the fucking Auburn trees, give me Harvey Updike.
If he was still alive, Chance, can you imagine how many lawnmowers he would have stolen in South Louisiana last week at the Walmart?
Oh, God.
Bogalusa.
Yeah, without a doubt.
All right, so we're moving on to Lexington, Kentucky.
Yeah, Kroger
We've got
Field.
the Commodores of Vanderbilt at Kentucky. Kentucky favored by 13.5 at Kroger Field, over and under 45.5.
Pile
Chance,
of points.
who do you have?
I like Kentucky to win the game. I like Vandy to cover. And I also like the under in that game at 45.5.
I went the same.
Yeah.
I think Kentucky will win the game.
Yeah.
That defense they have is pretty good. I mean,
Not bad. They're in control of the line of scrimmage.
Yes.
That's what you got to do in this.
But
game.
they've moved the ball consistently on offense. They take advantage of mismatches on the other side, and they're slow and methodical.
But they'll keep the game at a low score, and I don't have any confidence in Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
I think you might as well be Vanderbilt from Varsity Blues.
So we're going to go to the Red River Shootout over in Dallas at the State Fair of Texas. We got number 1 Texas and number 18 Oklahoma. Texas favored by 14.5.
Yeah. I think Texas
Chance?
gets that win. I'll be down there. I'll be at the Red River. I'll be at the fair with Big Tex. I'll be high-fiving his big ass and eating all the fried Oreos.
You go ride the Ferris wheel.
I'm going to do whatever the Texas
Deep in
Star.
the
I'm gonna
heart
do.
of Texas.
Yeah, let's go one time out of Austin there. I'm picking Texas to win that game, and I think OU covers that. It's crazy. It may be crazy to think, but I think Venables has a decent defense. He's good at kind of controlling that. But what I think on that game is they will go on under because of the defensive battles. I went last year and watched it firsthand. I didn't think OU had any chance of being in that game, and they controlled it.
Yeah.
And then they made the big plays, and I think Venables will get that done through defense. For whatever reason, it's a rivalry game, so you know how that goes. Hey, like Texas hadn't won but a couple in the last several meetings. They won 49-0 back in like 20 whatever, and then won again.
You want me to give you a stat?
You can absolutely give me a stat.
OU has won 7 of the last 10 against Texas.
There you go. I knew it was something big. So
They own the series in the last 20 years.
Yeah, no, they do, and that's why I think that OU gives them fits, but I don't think OU wins. It's shaky ground, as Delbert McClendon would say. Stand in on shaky ground.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I think Texas wins the football game. I think OU covers, and I think we're going to go on the under on that.
Yeah.
I feel like
1/4.
2 things. One, OU's defense isn't bad.
Yeah.
I mean, so far this year they've played pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, they have no offense.
Yeah.
It's just not been there.
Yeah.
Their defense is their best offense at this point.
Yeah.
However, my other point is Quinn Ewers hadn't played in several weeks. Okay?
Shake the rust off the pines.
Can Venables get pressure on yours
Right.
and make him hurry his decisions?
Yep.
We're talking about a close game. I think this game is going to be a 3 to 4 point ball game.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I think it's going to come down to that.
Do you know how I knew you drove a Honda?
I don't know.
Do you know how I knew he drove a Honda? Because we were in one accord right there. Texas to win, Oklahoma to cover, and the under. We're in one accord. Put it there. Yeah, one time in your life, you're right.
PT Cruise you.
That's right. Cool you.
All right, we're going to go next game. Your Florida Gators have got to go
on the road
to Knoxville, Tennessee, and play number 8 Tennessee. Tennessee's favored by 15, over and under 54.5. Before you say anything, I want to say this.
Mm-hmm.
Florida has won 17 of the last 20 against Tennessee.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was able to go to Neyland last time they played there, and I know what it's like because I got to go on the field and be down there. It's a hell of an environment. But
yeah, you send me some videos on that. It's crazy.
For whatever reason, Billy Ray Napier, he doesn't have anybody's number, but he's got Tennessee. He played Heupel close there with an Anthony Richardson, that was his third game to start at that point in his life, pretty much, and he handled it well. Well, you got Graham Mertz, who is a veteran quarterback by all sense of the word. You got Lagway, who's probably going to be cool. He's going to get to play, and Billy's going to throw the ball. But that front four for Tennessee is tough, really tough. They got some really good linebackers. They know how to create pressure, and if just like with anybody, if you can create pressure with your front four, then you're going to
win football.
Yep, you're going to win, and then it's going to come down to third down. Can you stay on the field on offense on third downs? Can you get off the field on defense on third downs? End of discussion. And can Billy Ray get them lined up right on defense? If they can't, then you'll hear me MFing the whole rest of the day.
So who's your pick? What you going to go with, your heart or your head?
Oh, I went Tennessee to win the game. I do think UF will cover that. And I think that they will definitely hit the over in that game because I think Billy's going to score. But I just think at the end of the day, our defense, I have no faith in our front four. And I have faith in their front four, but no faith in our front four. I like what Jason Marshall's doing on the back end at corner. They're not going to go at him on man-to-man. The kid can cover. I like our secondary's kind of making a few strides in there, but it's all going to come down to the line of scrimmage.
I agree with that. I went Tennessee to win the game. I picked Florida to cover. I picked the under.
Yeah.
I just think that from years past, to me, this game's going to be tight in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
We're looking at
I think so too.
21-17, 24-21 game in the fourth quarter. Who's leading in the fourth? I don't know. It's going to come down to a one-possession game.
Yeah.
I think the winner wins by 4 to 6 points. 28-24, 27-21, something around that nature.
Yeah, I think we get up there a little bit more in points, but you're pretty close to that, and I do think that about the game being inside that 14.5 or 15 points.
2 more games on our slate for this week. We've got number 9 Ole Miss going to number 13 LSU.
Yeah.
Ole Miss is favored by 3.5 in Death Valley at night.
100-year
anniversary of Tiger Stadium.
Doesn't mean a damn thing. Anyway, you're right about the 100-year, but the main thing is at night in Death Valley when they start calling Baton Rouge. With the Rays. When they start doing that, then calling Baton Rouge. Operator, won't you put me on through? Because I like LSU and now LSU across the board and the over with the foot on the gas. I love Garrett Nussmeier. I like to call him my little stepson. I like him a lot.
I'm taking LSU to win the game, to cover, of course. But I'm taking the under, and one of the reasons why I'm taking the under is I think that LSU's starting to get their defense figured out. You know, they've had a couple of, they've given up, I think, like 13 touchdowns this year, but of the 13, 7 of them were busts, like just complete busts.
Yeah.
And that's been in the last few weeks. 5 of them were actual runs, big runs.
Yeah.
One play that they took, is actually, or one drive they had was actually a good play. The DB got beat. I just think LSU pulls this out at home at night. It's going to be it's a big game for Brian Kelly. It's a big game for Kiffin. Now, if Kiffin loses, is he gone?
Hell.
We'll see. But I actually think that, I think LSU's a lot better than they've played, and they're getting better. We'll see.
Maybe why they go under. They may hold this on enough stops to keep the under.
One of the things that Kelly said this week and was adamant about it was, I do not want to get in a shootout.
Yeah.
And I think Lane feels the same way now. Looking at Ole Miss's rushing stats the last few weeks, they're not rushing the ball like they have been.
Right.
They're not getting 4 yards a carry. If Ole Miss is under 40% for third down for the game, they lose.
Absolutely. Agree with
They
that.
have to change that, the trend for the last few weeks on third down in order to win the game. Now, do I think that Lane can do it? Absolutely. He's one of the best play callers in the business.
He is.
However, they're going to be without their top wide receiver. I think more than likely, they're saying day to day. I don't think he's going to play. I think he's a no-go. So they're going to have somebody step up.
Yeah. I don't know that they have it. But LSU over for me. LSU under for you.
Last game.
Road tag, portable toilet services, no ship. Pick of the week.
We're going to Eugene, Oregon. We're going to a quintessential Big Ten game.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. All the way on the left coast.
Number 2 and number 3 playing.
Big game.
Top 5 matchup. 2 of them wanting to reach that number 1 status that Texas is at now. And who knows what happens with Oklahoma and Texas. That one of these 2 teams might get up there. And probably will, whoever the winner is. Because it should be a battle. Who do you like?
Ohio State favored by 3 in Oregon. I'm not buying it. I think Gabriel's been playing lights out the last few weeks.
I have no faith in him.
I think that Oregon wins the game, and I think the game's going to be in the over because both teams score and they score a lot.
Yeah.
I'm taking Oregon and I'm taking the over. It's going to be a hell of a game either way. Ohio State doesn't normally travel to places like this that have, it's just a difference.
They don't normally travel to these places anyway.
Yeah.
But I think they spread them out good. I think you're going to see a lot of splits in the linemen with Ryan Day. I think you're going to see Quinshawn Judkins have a game. The kid is special. And they'll make enough plays on offense, and the defense will I think they're going to create some turnovers. Going to get some lucky fumbles in the game for Ohio State. I like Ohio State. I think they beat Oregon, and it's going to be the over. OSU, and the over. We're totally antagonistic on that.
I'm going Oregon, and the over.
The Ohio State University. Strike up the band, and let's make it happen. We hope you've enjoyed our show today. And remember, like I always say, strive for perfection and what, JD?
Settle for boredom.
Look, he's an idiot. Settle for excellence. Strive for perfection and settle for excellence right here on Jumpin' Offsides.